Well, hello. How are you, everyone? And welcome back to Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. This is Sandy, and it is Monday Night Live, and we are going to talk about tomatoes, one of my favorite things to grow. And because I have two gardens, two different times of the year, I thought we would talk about. And Julie is in here, and Angie is in here. Hello. Angie, very exciting. Looks like that freeze dryer came to you today. Woohoo! I can't wait to see what you put in there. Seriously, it's going to be so much fun. Really. Yeah. So, I have tomatoes growing here in Yuma, Arizona. It was a cooler winter. Usually, what we call winter is about 3 weeks, and it's high 30s if it's really cold at night. Well, we had a lot of days that it was 50s and 60 degrees early through December through into February. So that really made my garden grow slower. It's not like it kills your plants, because it doesn't, but it does make it grow slower. But do I have red tomatoes? Well, there's one red tomato for you. Picked it today. We're actually going to have cheeseburgers, and I'm going to use this one for our slices. And I did pick this one. It's bigger. It's not all the way ripe. It came from the same bush. But these are my first two large tomatoes that are red. And it gives a little bit, but sitting on the counter for a few days will not hurt this one. But it's a nice size tomato. And I got green tomatoes everywhere. So you know how when you're doing your garden and you're just so anxious for those tomatoes, and then all of a sudden it is tomatoes everywhere. So one of these days, that's exactly what it's going to be, because it's been staying high 50s, sometimes even low 60s at night. So that will really help these tomatoes grow. And I have one tomato plant out there, which is way bigger than the rest of them. It's about 6 feet tall, and it's literally circumference wise, it goes out 6 feet all the way around. I have a huge tomato cage, and it has just branched all over the place. It obviously thinks it's the perfect place to live, because the other ones aren't that far from it, and they're big, the plants are, but nothing like this one. So I'm not really sure why. It just likes it extremely well. But it is next to the shed, and so I think the warmth the shed gets during the day kind of radiates that heat at night, so it stays warmer, and it's been warmer all winter than the rest of them. And so I think that can really make a difference. But for most people, they are just starting their tomatoes. They don't have these fresh red ones. There's a few places around the country that will have them, that they've been growing all winter long, just like mine. And it's always interesting when you go to slice that first tomatoes of the season. It's just like, oh my gosh. It's just so exciting. Angie, you can dehydrate or freeze dry tomatoes. It'll be so much fun for her. I have often said that I'm very jealous that she was getting one, because I have wanted a freeze dryer for a very long time. Space is my main problem. Plus, I live in two places. So where would I have it? And Angie is saying yes. I know I watched Team Benson out of Phoenix, and she is just the sweetest gal. And she's been showing her garden, and it's been interesting to watch what's growing in Phoenix, which is about 3 hours away from us, 2.5 hours away from us, depending on how fast you drive. And how her garden is compared to mine. Some things she's farther ahead, some things I'm farther ahead. And so that's interesting. And they can be a little cooler than Yuma. They can, but then they get the big city. So it depends on where you live in Phoenix, on that microclimate too. Oh, Angie, did you see this? You can freeze-dried tomato paste. So fun. And Angie is reading her guidebook now. I'd just be devouring it. Every little thing, every little idea they have. It's so exciting. I will have to come see you this summer and see all the stuff that you're making. It's very exciting. Tonight we're going to give a couple things away. I was going to give a plant stake. But the hard thing about plant stakes is, one, they're long, and so you have to have them in the right size box that's not going to get bent or shooken up too much, because you don't want to break off that copper tubing. So I decided instead I was going to give away magnets that are puppies, puppy paws. One a purple one and one a green one. They got a magnet on the back, of course. And so we're going to give those away. Now, if I was back in Wyoming already, I would be starting my tomato plants. And in my cache of tomato seeds that I have in Wyoming, I easily have, I think close to 70 different kinds of tomato seeds right now. People send me tomato seeds. They want me to try different tomato seeds. I save tomato seeds. If I'm at somebody's house and they let me taste one of their tomatoes, if it's something I don't have, I always save some of the seeds from that tomato. If I'm someplace and I just really enjoy the tomato, I'll put some seeds in a napkin and save them for later so that I can try to grow them. And my brother and I, Jim, if you are in South Dakota, he has a Facebook page. Well, actually, the tri-state, or the 5 states around, he will let you into his Facebook page. And it's called Backyard Gardening of Rapid City. I think I have that right. Anyway, he's a wealth of knowledge, but him and I started watching tomato plants, and we started saving the very first tomatoes that turned red and the very last tomatoes that turned red of a certain kinds. And what we found was when we used those seeds to plant instead of just any of them during the season, it seemed to increase. They would start to ripen earlier, and they would produce later too. So just genetically, the tomatoes did it themselves because we were saving specific seeds. So if you ever have a chance to do that, your very first red tomato, or orange or yellow, depending on what kind you're doing, save those seeds. Then from that same plant, save the very last ones that ripened, that just really just stayed on there. They went, they got produced later in the season. And those are the ones you plant. And keep doing that for a few seasons. And it is amazing how it gets, you get a longer season of those tomatoes. They're ripening early. You have ones that go way farther into the fall season. And that's kind of cool. And Angie must be answering somebody. I'm sorry. Because she says, I probably need both of them. Those are me and Aaron's favorite colors. See, so I missed something. Sorry, Ange. And so if I was in Wyoming already, I would be starting tomatoes. Now, I'm not in Wyoming yet. Space is a premium when I come back. So there's only certain things I can do. So first of all, I'm wearing a Vineyard Chicks t-shirt. They just sent me one. This is my second one I got. I'm privileged. Okay. Anyway, they also sent me seeds. And so last week I did a video because I needed to start the onions. Onions take a long time. And so I don't know if you can see in my little makeshift greenhouse. The lettuce is all up. But look at there. I got onions up too. I had 20 seeds, and so far 7 of the 20 seeds are up of the onions. I think germination on the lettuce was every single one I put in there. But I just made this little makeshift greenhouse. But for the most part, I've been leaving this side open for airflow just because the lettuce is up so far. It doesn't have their true leaves on there yet, but I'm going to plant some of them in a raised bed that I pulled the potatoes out. but I needed those onions to start growing that I gotten from the vineyard chicks. And depending on where you live, that's when you decide what vegetables to start. And so with tomatoes, I will actually start a bunch of tomatoes when we get back. We're looking at that we'll probably leave to go back home a little bit earlier. I have a fused glass art class that I'm teaching on the 5th of April. Then I have to fire, because there's 6 people taking that class, and then they only have to get fired once. Some of the classes, the items they're making, they have to get fired twice. But I am going to fire them, have them all come up and pick theirs back up, or I'll deliver some of them if they're close. And we'll look at the weather, and then we're going home. So we could be home as early as April 10th. Anywhere from the 10th to the 15th. That's what I'm looking at, depending on the weather, of course. And so then I'm going to start my tomatoes. Now, I have a large community garden plot. And when I made up my grid, I'm going to put 20 different plants in there. I have enough room in my tomato section area that I can put 20. And so I usually like to start at least 2 to 4 of each of those tomatoes. Now, I have room to plant them all over my yard. I always plant them not only in the gardens, but I also plant them by fruit trees, in the flower beds, in pots. So any given summer, I can have anywhere from 40 to 80 to 100 tomato plants. Joe and I cannot eat that many tomato plants, or tomatoes from those tomato plants. But I have a huge pantry filled with tomatoes, sauces, and tomatoes, and about anything you can imagine that you can make with tomatoes. And we give lots of them away. I've sold them at farmers markets. I've sold them out of my house. You know, I can put a sign by the street and say, fresh tomatoes. And I'll say from this time to this time, and people will come and pick them up. So you can do a lot of things with your extra tomatoes. If I had a freeze dryer, I could freeze dry these tomatoes. I'm going to tell Joe that. But I'm excited because as soon as we're home, you know, we're going to unpack. We'll make sure everything's on, and I'm planting tomatoes and peppers and squashes. And I'm actually going to plant everything, all my brassicas. I will buy a few brassica plants just because I can put those in early, but I can have more than one sowing of different things. And in fact, you're better off having multiple sowings. I have a lot of walls of water that I like to put my peppers or tomatoes or squash inside there so that when the nights are cooler, it's still staying warm in there. And so that's one of the things I do. And so we'll have videos on me starting my tomatoes. I'll show you some few different ways that I have started tomatoes. Sometimes I just do 2 seeds in a little peat pot. Sometimes I use my soil block thing and put them in there. Sometimes I have a container and I'll put 30 or 40 seeds in there, and then I'll separate them, move them to bigger pots, sell them or give them away. But I'm very excited. There are some tomato seeds that I have gotten from people and that people recommended that I bought last summer for me to try. So I'm going to have some new varieties in there too. But we are about at 15 minutes. So we have to pick a winner. Let's give away the green one first. This is a spring green with brown for the little paws. And I did these in a little mold. I full fused them, but next time I do them, I'm going to fire polish them so they're a little more bumpy where the paws are. So let me type in there and see who our winner is. So if you said a comment or said anything in the last 5 or 10 minutes, then Nightbot will find you. And Nightbot picks the winner. I don't pick the winner at all. And we will see who Nightbot picks. Hello, how are you? Drama Triangle. Fun name. Welcome. I don't think you have been in one of my lives. Oh, and Nightbot is just picking the winner right now. And it is Angie. You are the winner. So I'll put that in a package and send it up to you. How fun is that? And Kathy is here. I have learned so much from you. I can't believe you don't have more views. I actually have a lot of views. It's crazy how some videos don't have a lot of views. Other videos have huge amounts of views. But, I'm just having fun. So that's all there is, It's totally fun. Kathy, I'm giving a couple things away. Angie just won this pot. It's a magnet. It's made out of fused glass. And in just a few minutes, we are going to give the purple one away. Now, my lives are only a half hour because that works out for us. And it works out because there's a lot of other live streams. And so I did notice that, I stopped doing live streams in December, and I didn't really start up again until the end of February. And less views on the live streams, but I will just build that back up. I needed a break, and that was the way it was, Life has to be good. Life has to be fun. And so that's the way it is. And we are talking tomatoes. So for you gals and guys who just popped in, these are my 2 tomatoes I picked today. This one's not quite ripe, but I'm going to put it on the counter. It'll ripen in a couple days. This one, we're putting on cheeseburgers tonight. So that will be fun. Now, sometimes when you're growing your tomato plants in your house, of course, they're either using lights from the window, you have some shop lights or grow lights or whatever it is, and all of a sudden your tomatoes start getting laggy. They're searching for the light. The light source is not close enough to them. Or in the case of a window, it's just not getting enough of the light for a long enough period that it's really intense coming through that window. And so what I have found the easiest way to fix that is to repot it. And I'll break off any lower leaves and I will put it in a pot, even if I have to twist that root ball around a little bit and cover all that up. So it's just showing those top leaves again. That way, that whole trunk of that tomato plant will send out roots and it will just get bigger and bigger and bigger. Then you need to fix that light source because for some reason it isn't getting enough light. So, if you're having overhead lights or side lights, just adjust them. Maybe they're just too far up. So either you lower the lights or lift the tray that the tomatoes are on, whatever's easier. Sometimes it is easier to start your tray higher. So you're not adjusting the lights, you're just lowering the tray. So, you can use blocks of wood, you could use bricks, you could use whatever, and then just lower it. Otherwise, just move the light source. And it will make a big difference on the strength of your tomato plants. Now, tomatoes cannot survive a frost at all. If you had them in a wall of water, if you had them in a little hoop house, something that was protecting them, that air around there will stay warmer and they won't freeze. But if you just had them out in your garden and there's a frost, you're killing your tomatoes. So you just have to protect them. You just have to think of them as little tiny babies because that's what they are. They're very tender. They just can't survive frost. They can't survive snow unless you've protected them, which there is tons of things to do to protect them. I just happen to have walls of water, and so I use them. And if you don't know what a wall of water is, they're circular, they're plastic, and they have these cells that go all the way around, and you fill them with water. And you plant that tomato inside. And what I usually do, while the walls of water are on there, I have a tomato cage upside down. I slide the wall of water on there, fill it with the water. And so that way, in the wind, it's not toppling over. And a lot of times I'll put a stake in there too, hook the tomato cage onto it so that it just makes it a little more sturdy, because in Wyoming we have winds. And so there's just things I have to do. Angie's starting her tomato seeds in 2 to 3 weeks. And so that's not that much different from me when I get back. I like to do some succession planting of my tomatoes inside. So if I was back in Wyoming already, I would start some tomato plants. And then in 2 or 3 weeks, I would start some more tomato plants again, so that they're different heights. Seriously, by the time it is mid-July, everything catches up. So many times people will tell me, oh, it was a wet spring. There was a lot of rain. I was too busy. And they say they don't have their tomato plants in. Plant them in June. Plant them June 15th. They will catch up. You will still get tomatoes. And so don't miss out on your tomato experience. Just put them in the ground when you can get them. Sometimes greenhouses will have great sales about the 15th of June where I live. Oh, Charmaine is here. Hey, girl, how are you? No, I'm only at 20 minutes. I see, or 21 minutes. You still got 9 minutes of me talking. So I hope you are good. I have missed talking to you. So we were talking about tomatoes. So when we get home, we will start the tomatoes right away. And I'll do some videos on different ways that you can plant tomatoes. But one of the other things, my gigantic tomato plants that I was talking about earlier, I'm going to take some of the branches off there and root them while I'm here. And I'm just going to root them in water. And that way, when I go to leave, I can just put, I'm actually using some really thick felt. And so I'm going to roll it out. I'm going to put a layer of soil. I'm going to lay those rooted plants on there. And I'm just going to seriously roll it up. Put it in a bag. Secure it. I'll make sure there's a lot of air in there. And that's how I'm going to take those tomato plants home. And next week, when we do the live stream, we're talking about potatoes in a box. And I will show you how I start my potatoes and I bring them home in a box, and then I plant them in the ground or a raised bed. And this will be my 5th season of these potatoes. And we'll talk about that next week. So that will be kind of fun. And Charmaine says, long time no see. That is true. I had stopped doing lives and I wasn't going to do them. And then I just missed them so much. It was like, I missed the chat. I miss seeing people. It was like, I miss having people up on the live stream. I just said, I just can't do it. I have to go back on doing live streams. And though there's not too many people in tonight, by a week's time, there'll be 300 people that have watched the live streams or more. So that is fun. Angie says, I'm going to try to grow the pink warty pumpkin you gave me hydroponically in a rain barrel. That is going to be so fun. Now, if you haven't grown warty pumpkins, they have some of the best flavor for pumpkins, and they are so weird looking. But I love them. There's this one French one, and I wish I had my magazine. Rareseeds.com sells it. And there are warts all over the place on it. And it makes the best pumpkin pie you ever tasted in your life. It is just fabulous. Charmaine says, I've missed you too. That is so sweet of you. And we are about 25 minutes, so I think I should give this away. Okay, so fused glass. It's got a magnet on the back. But I know a lot of you guys have puppies. So I'm going to give this away too. Fun. Okay, so I'm going to give you a second. So if you're in the live stream, even if you haven't made a comment before, just put a word, a number, because Nightbot looks at who said things in the last 5 or 10 minutes. And that's how Nightbot picks who the winner is. You do have to live in the continental United States, and you do have to send me your physical address. So if I don't have it, I will tell you on this live stream. I'll give you my email, and fact, let me go over there and I will get my email so it pops up there. That is my email. So if you think I may not have your address and you're the next winner, I do have Angie's address. So I am going to type, and Nightbot is going to pick a winner because that's what Nightbot does. I don't even have to pay him. It's crazy. So Nightbot is thinking, and it will pop up in the chat, and he says, and the winner is Kathy. You are the winner. So Kathy, I do not think I have your email or your physical address. So if you would send me an email, I'm going to pop your name down. So if you send that to my email address right there, if you send it tonight, I will mail it tomorrow when I mail Angie's. So that is so fun. And so I do have to write, I'm an old woman. I have to write these things down so I don't send Angie the wrong one and Kathy the wrong one. Kathy. Okay, and Kathy won the purple. Angie won the green one. And I will mail those out tomorrow. Awesome. See how fun that is? My kiln had died. If you guys didn't know that, my brand new kiln. And so they were sending me a part. It was supposed to be here Friday. Then it said it would be here Saturday. Then it says it's going to be here by 6:35, which I thought was kind of funny. 6:35 tonight. It hasn't come here yet. So it's like, oh my gosh. But I can't fire. And I had a class on Friday. So I have students stuff that I need to fire. And then I have a class that's coming Friday. Plus all my other stuff I want to fire. I have a couple roadrunners I have to make for people. So, but that's my dilemma. And I'd rather not think about that. I'd rather think about tomatoes. In fact, this is the perfect firmness. It gives it, you get that little bit of give. That's how you know it's just perfect for a slicer. And so I'm going to make up some hamburger patties. And I got the buns. We got cheese. We got lettuce that I'm growing. So I'm going to use some of that. And we are going to have cheeseburgers from the grill. And I found this. We have this little store that's called Food City. Maybe you guys have that in your town. I don't know. And they had a type of potato chip I had never even heard of. And on the packages, it's been in production for like 100 and some years. So we're going to have some of those tonight with it. But who is growing tomatoes this year? Have you started them already? Angie says she's starting her tomatoes in 2 to 3 weeks. If you are, in the comments, write what you're going to grow, especially if it's an unusual variety. I have a lot of different tomato seeds at home, but I always look forward to some new ones. Charmaine says that she is growing them, but not yet. And there's probably the majority of the people don't have tomatoes in the ground right now. They may have started them or they're about to start them. We're going to start them in April. But March can be a very cool month for most of the country. And so a lot of people won't have their tomatoes started yet. But there are probably next week and that week after when I ask, there'll probably be tons of people that have started their tomatoes. And I just really like the whole thing about, I like the smell of this tomato plant. Some people don't like that at all. But like when I'm in the garden and you brush against that, or you're starting your seedlings, and all of a sudden you go by there and you can smell that tomato, it's like garden season is about to begin. It's just fabulous. Kathy says that she has not started. Oh, she's doing it hydroponically. Angie does a lot of hydroponic tomatoes too. Yay. So Charmaine is growing a Dr. Wyche, but she says the spelling is wrong. So I'm assuming that's the type of tomato. I have not heard of that one. You're going to have to let me know how that grows and where you got it from so I can get some seeds. Unless you want to send me some seeds after you've grown them so that I can plant them next year. Or next fall when I'm back down in Arizona. That would be fabulous. Woohoo! Well, kids, it's been a fast and furious half hour. I hope you love tomatoes like I do. There's actually nothing like it, and it's one of my favorite things to grow. Like if I did my top 5 things to grow, it would be tomatoes. It would be pumpkins or squash. I love growing cabbages because we eat a lot of sauerkraut, kimchi, all kinds of stuff like that. I have tried to grow watermelons. They never get very big, and we just have a short season. I should actually try to grow them down here is what I should do. I love pulling carrots out of the garden. And my other great thing I love to do is garlic and onions. Those would be my top things to grow in any garden. I like other things to grow. I like growing peppers and radishes and stuff like that, but not like I love tomatoes. But it's 31 minutes. I have to go. I have to let you go. You guys have a great time. Remember, next week's live stream is potatoes in a box, and I will tell you all about those. Thanks, everybody. Bye.